Hey guys, this is not going to be a how-to video. This is more of a vlog just to go through the process I've been working through for about the last week and a half, almost 2 weeks, to figure out how to do this project. I'm not 100% done yet, but I at least have finally a working prototype. So it's enough where I can make this video to at least show you guys what I did. I have wanted to improve the audio to get it more like a wired mic connection because, let's face it, using the Sena GP10 with either the 20S or the 30K, it's good. Don't get me wrong, if you get it working right, it's a good solid connection. Sounds more than decent enough to do any kind of video work. However, it does pale compared to a good wired mic. So I wanted to upgrade. Problem with that is I ride in the rain a lot. If you are lucky enough to ride in conditions and motovlog and do your filming where you're not getting it wet, you don't have to worry about it, man, I envy you because you've got your choice of easy, off-the-shelf, plug-in, inexpensive stuff. You don't need any special equipment or any special cases. You just need an adapter and a mic and you're done. Simple as that. When you ride in the rain, you have to think about some type of at least weatherproofing. I don't need it waterproof. This is not going in the pool. It's not going in the ocean. But it does need to be rainproof. So I came up with something here. Now, I have gone through permeation after permeation and finally come up with something that works. Ideally, I wanted something off the shelf where I could say, hey guys, buy this, this, and this, plug it in, do this kind of setup, and it works. It does not exist. I have bought every kind of adapter that I could find on the planet, both eBay and Amazon. I've bought many different mics. I've tried many different mics that I had here, and there is no off-the-shelf solution. No matter what is out there, you have to do some serious modification to at least one part of it. So this isn't maybe the least expensive, but it's in the middle of the range, and it still requires a ton of work. So I don't expect a lot, if anybody, to actually do this, but I wanted to show you what I did in case you do. So I'm not gonna go through everything that didn't work. It's a very long list. I'm gonna go right into, this is what I found did work. I've spent about 150 bucks on parts so far to find the right combination. First of all, talking mics, I've gone through a ton of them. I've tried everything from my Mod Mic 5, which did work great, by the way, but it is a very expensive indoor mic only, definitely not something you want to put in your helmet. But it is a benchmark for quality, so I measured everything against it. And I did find that a few of them absolutely matched overall quality. My initial thought was to use the Sena surface mount mic. This is one of my spares, because I wanted to see what the quality was directly wired in, but most importantly because it's tiny and it's flat and it goes right in the front of my helmet, right at the corner of my mouth, and I don't touch it, and it's got this nice pop filter. But it uses a non-standard plug, so I would have to use an adapter, and that kills the entire project. So that was out. But I am curious as to what the overall quality is. If I ever get an adapter, I'll do it just for curiosity. So I did find that my very expensive Rode mic works very well, but I'm not going to sacrifice this for helmet duty because this is an $80, almost $90 mic. But it did sound just as good as the Mod Mic 5. No battery required. And this is a cheaper lapel mic that I tried, and it sounded cheap, unfortunately. This was a very inexpensive part of a set, a wireless lav mic that I had, or still have, but don't use anymore because it has very bad connectivity. And the quality was definitely lacking. It was pretty darn close to the GP10 connection. So for those of you unfamiliar, the GP10 is a backpack for the GoPro 3 and 4s. It's a Bluetooth receiver, and it connects to any of the Sena units to make your audio wireless to the GoPro. And it connects with this little bridge piece here. And what they use is a special case. You can't use the standard GoPro cases. You have to use the Sena case. And it's extra wide. There's extra width right here to accommodate the width of that bridge. So the camera sits in just like that. And you got that little extra space. So I knew I wanted to start with this case. So here's a fresh one, because I did hack up one of them. got a hole drilled in there. So that's no longer completely sealed. But again, I'm not looking for totally sealed, just rainproof. But I wanted that extra space. My initial thought was use a 90-degree microphone adapter. Again, for those of you that don't know, you can't plug a mic directly into the GoPro. All the mics go through the USB connection, just like this bridge. And it goes right into here. Now the GoPro, the official adapter for the microphone, stands straight out, almost an inch. So that obviously won't work because that will come out the side of the case. But there are some aftermarket 90-degree microphone adapters that send the connection up. So my initial thought was find one that's small enough to fit in there, and it would have to be that thick, and then work the wire out from there, figure out what I have to do. But there are none that fit, period. There are also hardly any that actually work. Now here's the other thing. With these adapters, there is a little resistor between two of the pins, and what that does is acts as a switch, and it tells the GoPro if that resistor is in place, when there's something plugged in here, turn off the internal mics in the GoPro and use the external. That's what the resistor is for, and it's a very specific value. And I went through, I don't know, 5 or 6 of these different adapters, and I also found that there are basically 3 of them on the planet, and they're sold under lots of different brand names. This is the only one that works. The other ones simply either don't work at all, the wrong value resistor is in place, or terrible staticky audio quality. This has the correct value resistor. It simply works flawlessly. It's under the brand name, what is it? Fantaseal. I got it on Amazon. I'll link it below if anyone wants it. It's about $10. And no matter what you want to use it for, it works flawlessly. Now don't worry about this ferrite core in here. That's just for interference. It's just a simple magnet. You can see I've gone through a few of these, hacking them apart and making prototypes. They just snap off. So no modification there. Just not that we're going to use it, but if you are concerned about that for your use, don't worry, you can take it out, and you don't need it for anything. So this works flawlessly. It's got a nice PCB inside. The construction's good. I've taken many apart, and it works fine. So it is stereo. Some of them also did not work in stereo. They were mono. So if you're looking for a great, inexpensive $10 stereo adapter for your GoPro 3 or 4, this is the one you want. Fantaseal, $10 on Amazon. All of them on eBay are shit. Most of them on Amazon are shit, and they're another type of design, a slightly different looking connector. Believe me, they're all coming from the same Chinese factory, and they don't match the pictures in the ads. They are showing older pictures, older designs. It's not what you end up getting. And I kind of expected them not to work because here's what I found. I even bought the ones that were recommended by all the popular motovloggers, in their setup videos. Problem is, those are old videos, and the parts have changed over the years. They're no longer the parts that they're promoting in their videos. You don't get the working parts anymore. And like I said, I kind of expected it because the reviews for all of the ones that didn't work, the older reviews were great. Hey, it works fine, got it, nice, works, whatever. The recent reviews, sucks, doesn't work, no sound, one channel, So things have changed. Anyway, the mic I found that is a compromise, because like I said, I'm not using a $90 mic for this project, is a $30 mic. And the compromise is it's a mono mic. So the Rode here that works, that's a stereo mic, and it works. Plug that into that, and you have an absolutely 100% professional, flawless audio connection. For $30, you can get this one. It's a, oh God, what is the name? I got another one here. I've bought multiple of these too. JK, Mic-J lavalier mic, and it's made for Sennheiser. It's a copy of a Sennheiser. And I'll link this down below too. Anyway, this sounds flawless. The quality out of the left channel, which is all you get out of this, is flawless. And it is an easy thing to do in editing software. I don't know about you, but I use Premiere CC, and it's one click to just duplicate the left channel onto the right. And you have a great sounding stereo-like sound. And it is just as good as the Rode. it is just as good as the Mod Mic 5. It's a very clean, professional, no static, no hum, no nothing, perfect signal. But like I said, only left channel. It's a mono mic. But for 30 bucks, a third of the cost of the stereo, I'll click one button every time I have to edit. Big deal. Now it has a screw-in connector because most lav systems, including my Rode, screw it in so you can't accidentally pop your mic out during a gig. And this just pops off. It's a simple rubber O-ring. It's hard to do with one hand, but it just slides off. Come on now. Anyway, take my word for it. If I had two hands, it just pops off. There's an O-ring under there. So we are going to pop that off for this project, but this is the mic that I'm going to use, and it sounds great. And I'm just going to tuck it under my cheek pad. They do give you little pop filters, little wind filters, but they're huge. And that is definitely too large to fit in my helmet right in front of my mouth compared to my Sena mic. So here's the crux of what you have to do. You have to take your adapter and completely destroy it. And I mean completely. We are looking for just the metal USB micro connector and the PCB inside. And then we're going to use the metal barrel here on the end. And that's it. We're going to completely hack it up. I can't show you how to do it because frankly, I've gone through 4 prototypes here and it is one of the hardest soldering jobs I've ever done. You know, this is my thumbnail for comparison. You can see how tiny those traces are. Absolute nightmare. Now I wired this just as a mono, just into the left channel since the mic I'm using is only mono. If I had to do this in stereo, it would be almost impossible without a specialty soldering tip because these traces are smaller than the tip on my soldering iron. But luckily the ground and the left channel are pins 1 and 3. So I had 2 in the middle there that I didn't have to put anything on. So it gave me the little extra width to actually get those wires connected. It was a complete pain in the ass. The wires I used out of a regular USB cable, and I stripped it and just pulled the wires out because they're tiny. You need tiny, tiny wires for this. But I wanted sheaths on them because I need them to be strong. So then I just soldered in the barrel here. This is another one that I destroyed just to figure out exactly how I want to do this. And then, luckily, just stripping the rubber off the end of the barrel, here's what it looked like out of the package. I just completely stripped the metal out. Came out very easily, you just cut it off with a knife. I drilled a hole just big enough to fit this into the bottom of the case. So this fits inside here just snugly, and then I'm going to epoxy that in place so it'll actually be sealed and won't move anywhere. So that will be part of the door. This whole assembly will be part of the door. So then the camera will go in the front of the case. The door, of course, will be attached. And then all I've got to do is pop this in and out of the camera when I take it in and out. And it barely fits. Oh, here's the other thing you have to do. As it comes, this is too long to work. This metal connector here is, for some reason, a few millimeters longer than standard. And it's too thick. It actually sticks out of the camera. I'll put it in real quick. It actually sticks out of the camera. And this is hard with one hand. And the PCB won't allow it to go in the case. I had to sand down the PCB, and there is, let me tell you, not even a fraction of a millimeter of space left. Because on the other side of that PCB is the resistor. Come on, get out of there. Ugh, I gotta be really careful because I have not epoxied this in place yet. See a tiny, tiny little resistor at the top corner there? That is soldered on between those 2 pins, and that's the switch. That's the switch that makes this work at all. And I sanded it just into the resistor. I actually took off about 3 millimeters off the end there. There were pads all on the end. Those are gone. And then I took off some of the circuit board and actually sanded into the resistor just slightly. And that is what you have to do to even fit it in the case. And unfortunately, the other units that I tried were even worse because they had the resistor soldered on even more towards the end. So what you would have to do is completely take off the PCB, and you'd have to go off the direct pins and then solder on your own resistor. I mean, which wouldn't be any more of a pain in the ass than this, but it would be difficult and another part to source. But this has barely enough space. When you hit that resistor, that's the correct size you need to sand it down to. So right now I've got to tape this up and epoxy everything here so it's not going to go anywhere, and so I have something to grab onto so I'm not grabbing on bare wires when I pop it in and out of the camera. Where'd the camera go? Right there. I need something to grab onto. And that's my plan. And then this, of course, will be epoxied into the door itself. So it'll just be a blob right there, and who cares? That's not ever going anywhere. But it works. I have absolutely fantastic quality. Now, obviously, you have the connection between the microphone and the jack here, external. Here's why I'm calling it rainproof, not waterproof. It's facing down. This is down on the camera, on the case. So it's mounted on my helmet just like this, facing forward. You know, no rain is going to get in there. It's behind this lip. It's right up against the camera. Rain is not coming from directly underneath me, coming from the bike. Nothing is going to get in there. Nothing's going to get in the case no matter what, because it's going to be epoxied around that jack. But nothing is even going to get in between the jack and the microphone plug. And even if it does, I mean, it's just surface moisture. It's not going to drive in anywhere. So it's going to be rainproof. I have no concerns about that whatsoever. So that's it. I will now finish this up, epoxy it, get it functional where I don't have to worry about it. I have to make it durable at this point. That's the bottom line. And here's the finished product. The epoxy just set up nice and firm. So the plug, of course, comes out from the jack for when I need to take the assembly off the helmet. I've got the microphone bundled up right under here, under the cheek pad, and I just put a tie around it to keep it nice and snug. The actual microphone is just peeking out right there. Again, doesn't go anywhere, nice and snug, completely out of the wind. The Cena mic is almost identical on the other side, and I get really good sound out of that location. It's right in the corner of my mouth on either side. My goatee actually hits the windscreen there of the Cena mic. That's the ideal position for any mic. So I'm hoping this one will pick up a lot more of the engine and an exhaust note. So I've got just enough wire here coming out to where there's no tension on it. It's not going to be vibrating around and not getting in the way. It can still tilt down, and I can take that out of the jack, of course, anytime. So on the inside, I've got just enough wire where I can have it connected to the camera and still open the door completely. Got the jack epoxied in there, of course, nice and sealed, so no water will ever make its way into the case. It's still completely watertight. The only thing open to the elements at all is right under here. And like I said, there's an O-ring on this mic under where the screw connection was. No water is going to get in this connection. And even if it does, it's just going to screw up the mic. Who cares? But I'm not going to be going through any floods or underwater with it, so rain is not going to get in here. I've got this sealed in epoxy. So even though I'm not going to be tugging on the wires, I can actually grab the sides of it to insert and remove it from the camera. There's no tension on the wires at all, and they're running back, so they're not even rubbing on the case. And this is an just barely interference fit. I'm not kidding when I said there isn't a fraction of a millimeter left. Like I said, I cut into the resistor just a little bit. No more can be shaved down, and it barely fits. But it does fit, so that's all that matters. So that is secure. This is just loosely taped here just to keep the wires from going anywhere. And got the ends here all in epoxy also. So even though I'm not tugging on them, they're not going anywhere either. And that's it. So, it's nighttime, but all I care about is the audio. Let's get it on the road. Okay, here goes testing. Been doing a little level testing and positioning. I think this should do it. This is visor down, obviously no bike. Speaking in a normal voice. Bike idling. Bike is fairly quiet at idle. It's not until I really get on it that this makes a really good note, because I have the baffle in. So let's take it out on the street and test for wind noise. That's what I've been trying to overcome here. I have it positioned right now exactly as shown, just tucked back just under the cheek pad, but in the same position you saw. I want to see if it picks up these little pops from the exhaust. That's something the Cena never picked up, because it had the active noise canceling, and it was really good about wind noise, but it just obliterated the sound of the exhaust. Nothing wrong with it, that's what it was supposed to do. Alright, so now we're at about the worst the wind noise gets, and of course this is a naked bike and it is quite loud as far as wind noise goes. It's calm though, but I don't have a windscreen, so we'll see how the mic deals with it. And of course we're going straight through the GoPro for the audio processing. There's no active noise cancellation or anything. I'm still getting used to having the automatic signals on the bike. Swapping between bikes with controls between the quick shifter and not having the quick shifter, and the automatic turn signals and not. I do have a quick shifter coming in for the FJR, and that should be here in the next week or so. I think it just shipped out today. I'm anxious to get that installed. It shouldn't be anything more difficult than putting it on the FZ. It's just power ground, mounting it, and it's a simple 1-bolt install for the sensor onto the stock shift mechanism. Unlike this one, it doesn't replace the shift rod. It goes on the mounting bolt for the shift rod to the assembly. And that's where it detects the pressure. There's different ways you can do it. And it's also supposed to work downshifting. But frankly, I don't trust the FJR gearbox to do that. It doesn't have an auto blip, so not really worth the risk as far as that goes. And it's all controlled and programmed through your smartphone. It's Bluetooth and it has an app, so you can customize it to work however you like and fine-tune it. I guess that's the one thing that the aftermarkets have over this factory quick shifter, is that this doesn't have any kind of options or tuning. But truth be told, it works great. I don't have the need to modify it. But some guys say the aftermarkets are smoother. I could see it being a little bit smoother, but like I said, there's no problem. Alright, so this has been the test. Hope this helps somebody. We'll see you next time.